Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I have an art video. Finally, I feel like it's been the longest time since I posted like just a dedicated art video, so I'm really excited for this one. Today I thought I would film a kind of like 10 things I wished I knew before starting GCSE/A Level art, but it's also kind of like 10 top tips, I suppose. I really wanted to get this video up before everyone went back to school because I think you've been back for like 2 or 3 weeks now, but I was just so busy towards the end of summer that wasn't going to happen. But 3 weeks into school, hopefully this video hasn't gone up too late and there should still be some really helpful tips and things that would be quite helpful in this video. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing that I wish I knew before starting GCSE or A-level art is that you are going to have a lot of people telling you not to do it and saying that you are crazy because it's so much work, and people saying comments to you like, oh my god, why are you doing that? It's so much work, it's so much effort, like what's the point? And this really got on my nerves, and you will get people that will say stuff like that. And then you'll also have people that will be like, oh, it's so easy, like what's the point in doing that? Like it's a pointless subject. But you just have to kind of ignore them, like especially the people that tend to say it, they haven't even done it themselves, so they don't know what they're talking about. But saying that, don't take GCSE art if you're taking it because you think it's going to be easy. It's definitely not easy. To get the highest marks, you do need to put a lot of work in, and there was quite a few people in my GCSE class that didn't really enjoy it, and I think that's because they took it thinking that it was going to be like an easy subject to get a pass in, like or to get a good grade in, so they ended up not enjoying it because they didn't really realise how much work was going to be involved in it. If you are unsure whether to take GCSE art, then I would say look at like past pupils' books or ask your teacher like what kind of things are involved, and also look at the syllabus for your course online so you have an idea of like the amount of work that is involved before you take it, so then you're not shocked when you do start GCSE. Personally, I absolutely loved GCSE art and it was 100% my favourite subject, but that's because I've always had a love for painting and getting creative and stuff like that. So for me, there was never a doubt in my mind as to whether I was going to take it or not. And for that reason, I think that's why I really enjoyed it, because I didn't see it as having to do loads of work. I saw it as like it's something I enjoyed, and it was different to all my other subjects. Like I looked forward so much to being able to just sit down and paint because I found it so relaxing. Whereas if you don't enjoy painting and being creative, then you're probably not going to enjoy GCSE art. And if you're not someone who enjoys drawing or painting or being creative, then maybe you have to question whether it is for you or not. So yeah, basically don't listen to people if they're telling you not to take it. If you want to take it, but take it for the right reasons, not just because you think it's going to be an easy pass. Now, the second kind of tip that I have is don't compare your work too much to other people in your class. I was definitely probably one of the worst people for this. I was constantly looking at other people's work in my class and thinking like, oh my god, I'm never going to be as good as she is, like I'm never going to be able to do that. But you definitely need to try and believe in yourself and not compare your work to others, because otherwise if you don't believe in yourself, then your work's not going to come out as good as it could do. So yeah, definitely tip number 2, make sure to believe in yourself and not stress too much about what other people are doing. So the next thing I wish I knew before starting is that art will probably be your most time consuming subject. Anything that's coursework based is going to be more time consuming throughout the year because it's something that you need to like carry on with, whereas other subjects that are exam based, it's only really stressful towards the end when you're revising for exams. So art is very time consuming. If you want to do well in it, then you have to put a lot of hours in. But I would say to get around this, what I did, it might not work for everyone, but what I did is I would keep up to date with my work like during the week, make sure I didn't get behind. Like I would work in lessons and not just sit there and chat, because a lot of people see it as kind of like a free period. So make sure you're making the most of your lessons, and then at the weekend I think I set aside a Saturday, I can't really remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but one day at the weekend I would use for all my academic subjects, like get all my homework done for like maths and English and those kind of things. And then the other day of the weekend I would set aside for just like pure art pretty much all day, and I would do like a painting or a drawing or like just finishing bits off in my book. Like I would set aside a whole day just for art and textiles, because I also did that, and that's coursework based, and that worked really well for me. I didn't do any clubs at the weekend really, but it might not work for everyone. That's just how I found work best. And you also probably will have times where you get really stressed over the amount of work you have to do, and you'll probably have moments where you think like, I can't do this anymore, like it's so much work, I don't even know where to start. And that's fine, everyone's going to have those moments. So I would say in that situation, just like calm down, don't stress too much about it, and break down all the work you have to do into little chunks, and then it won't seem so daunting. And if you've got like, I don't know, 10 things to do and only a week to do it in, it's better to get, say, 5 things done and do that really well to the best of your ability, rather than get all 10 things done but like you've rushed it and it doesn't look good. That is what I would probably say. So number 4, even though I've said not to compare your work with others, I would say it's a good idea to look at past pupils' work, like in your school. If your teacher's got any books from like past pupils that did really well, definitely look at their books to get an idea of the volume of work that's involved, and also the quality and the types of things that you need to do, like photography, pencil drawings, gallery visits. And it's also really good to look at past people's books to get an idea for layouts, how to lay out the sketchbook and background ideas and stuff like that. If your teacher doesn't have any books, because I've had a lot of people messaging me saying that that's not something they have in their school, then you can look on YouTube or other social media, but I would say be careful with this. But this brings me on to my next point, which is to be careful when looking at YouTube videos, because the videos you're looking at, they might be on a different exam board to you, and different exam boards can sometimes want quite different things. So if you are looking at a video and they've used like A1 sheets of paper instead of a sketchbook, but your teacher's told you to use a sketchbook, then that's probably because they're on a different exam board to you. So I was on Edexcel and we used sketchbooks, but I have had people DM me saying that they've been told to present theirs on like A1 big sheets instead, and that's because they're on a different syllabus. So like YouTube can be really good to get an idea of the layouts and like ideas and stuff to develop them. Don't take it too literally, and if you're unsure whether they're on a different syllabus, just ask them and hopefully they'll reply to you. And this brings me on to my next point, which is to make sure to look at the syllabus for your exam board before you start your course, or like throughout your course, just to check off the things that they've told you to do to make sure that you can get those higher marks. It's also a good idea, as I said in my first point, I think, to check the syllabus before you start your course, so you're not shocked when you do start. Like just get an idea and a feel for what you're going to have to do before you start the course. So my next point is that if you're into painting, I would probably say if your school is anything like mine, the brushes are rubbish, because like they're used by so many people and so many different medias, that I would get like a good quality brush set. They don't have to be expensive, but just a brush set that's yours, that you can take to lessons and use at home, and keep them in like good quality. Make sure you're washing them properly, because there's nothing worse than trying to paint with crappy brushes. It just doesn't work. If they're all frayed and stuff, you can't get the detail, so there's no point. Save yourself the hassle and just get your own set. But also don't feel like you need to go out and buy everything straight away. You don't need like pastels and colour pencils, drawing pencils, acrylic paint, oil paint, watercolour paint. You don't need everything straight away. It's a really good idea to have like the basics, so you can get like a watercolour palette like really cheaply, and they're good for backgrounds as well as actual painting with. Get a brush set, get like paper, a few pens, but don't feel like you need to go and rush out and buy absolutely everything in Hobbycraft, because you might not end up using some of it. I'm hoping to get a video up really soon about my must-haves for GCSE art, so hopefully that'll be up soon and you'll be able to watch that and see like the things that you do really need and the things that you don't. If you start off with the basics, then you can always increase your collection as you go. The next thing that I wish I knew before I started art was that you'll probably be doing a lot of photography as well, and it's really, I literally cannot stress this enough, it's so important to try and get good photos, because if you get like really bad photos, bad lighting, then they're so hard to work from. Like it takes a bit more time to set up your photography set properly, like get the background right, get the lighting right, but it will make such a difference to the outcome of your photos. It's definitely worth putting in that little bit of extra time and thought to get your photos just right, rather than having to take multiple sets because the first lot you took were rushed and like not quite right. And also photos are really good for you to then work from and paint from, rather than using stuff online, because obviously if you're using things from online, it's not your own work, it's then like secondary resources, and examiners also like to see primary resources. It's fine to work from other people's work online, but make sure that you give them credit in your sketchbook and like say that like give the artist's name of who the original piece was from, and say like why you've chosen to copy it. Maybe it's like an inspiration to you, but where you can, try and use your own photos as well. The next thing I wish I knew is that bigger doesn't always mean better. There was people that would do massive pieces in my class and I used to think, oh my god, that's amazing, but then when you look closer, like the detail's not quite there, and like I ended up getting the same grades as people that did do the massive pieces. So yes, a large piece can look really impressive, but don't feel the need to do an absolutely huge canvas because you think that's the only way you're going to be able to reach the top marks, because it's definitely not. You definitely can still get top marks if you do something like smaller, but by all means, if you do want to do a really large piece, then go for it. So the last tip I have is don't be scared to ask your teacher for help. It's their job to help you, like literally they'll be fine. If anything, they'll probably really like the fact that you're asking for help and like to develop your ideas. My teacher was so good, my GCSE teacher. Literally, she did not get enough credit at all. She was so passionate about the subject and teaching it. She would always be giving us more ideas, always happy to help. So hopefully your teachers are like that too. I have had DMs from people saying that their teachers weren't that good and they didn't really want to help them. But if this is the case, then I'm always happy. I'll always try and answer anyone's DMs if you do need a bit more support and your school's not offering that. But yeah, don't be scared to ask your teacher for help, because most of the time they'll be more than happy to. So that is everything that I wish I knew before starting GCSE or A-level art. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe to stay notified of my uploads, and give this video a like if you did enjoy. I'll link my Instagram down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.